Alright guys, Scrappy here again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far, with big drama continuing in the CDL. SlasheR gives his point of view on the Boston Breach disaster class over the last couple of weeks. 0-7 this stage. They were certainly not that bad when SlasheR and Dashy were on the roster. SlasheR says, look, he wanted Snoopy gone. He wanted somebody else in to potentially help their gameplay. The powers that be, though, changed their mind on that one and got rid of SlasheR from the roster instead. Has that proven to be a terrible decision over the last couple of months? Maybe, well, yes. And also Simp responding to the Scrappy Subliners replay referee cheese drama that we saw last night. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, some rumours on the upcoming Call of Duties. This year's game, 2024, is obviously a tryout game. Black Ops 5, Black Ops Gulf War, something like that. Apparently the game's been ready for a long time. It's very polished, is what I'm hearing on this new title. And apparently it's going to be rather good. We'll see if we get a better CDL setup next season with more events or whatever. Less online qualifiers, hopefully, than we have this year. But time will tell on that one. Year after that, 2025, it's reported to be a Black Ops 2 sequel, effectively, because of course Black Ops 2 was set in the year 2025, so maybe it's kind of good timing and they can do good marketing stuff around that, I guess. But anyway, the theory is it's Black Ops 2.5 or something. It's some sort of Black Ops 2 follow-on set in like 2030. That was the rumour. After that, then, it's back to Infinity Ward, baby, and apparently 2026 is going to be a Ghosts title. The last time we had a Ghosts game, it came out in 2013, COD Ghost, if you guys don't remember that one. And yeah, it was a good game for search and destroy. Not good for much else, as far as I'm concerned, but people look back rather fondly. I don't look back fondly at the IEDs, but, you know, whatever. I don't want to talk about them again. They traumatized my early adolescence, to be honest. But this is the big one. COD 2027. Sledgehammer are back in business with what is potentially going to be an advanced warfare title. Now, we've heard rumors about this before, so it may not happen again. But there has been a feeling that at some point, Microsoft and, you know, the powers that be in charge over there are probably going to want to go back to some sort of advanced movement. Like, it's been a theory for some time that eventually jetpacks will probably return. The cycle of gaming will go in that way, and they're potentially targeting a 2027, because it was 2014 Advanced Warfare 1 came out, Black Ops 3 was the next year, 2015, Infinity Ward came out the next year in 2016, Infinite Warfare, sorry, came out the next year from Infinity Ward in 2016, alongside COD 4 Remaster that came out at the same time. Since then, everything's basically been the same game, boots on the ground, and I know there's been hope about a potential jetpack return. It may be happening, but it may be happening in a fair few years' time. Few numbers here from the Major 3 qualifiers. Cellium topping the lines, honestly quite emphatically in the end. Cellium, you've got to expect him to be between a 1.25 and a 1.3. Now he's on the upper echelon of that with a 1.30 precisely. Scrappy was second with a 1.2. Priestahh with a 1.15. Simp at a 1.14. Gwyn as well with a great stage of mid with a 1.14. So these are honestly not far off the MVP candidates. To me, the MVP candidates this season, Scrappy, Simp, and probably Cellium as it stands. And then, you know, from OpTic, I might put Shotzzy in there, but, you know, it really depends on their results. In terms of raw numbers, Simp and Scrap to me have been the most impressive. Of course, Cellium has the best KD, but it doesn't necessarily show impact. And there's all these other questions. Simp to me has been FaZe's best player, but I feel like Cellar's actually kind of turned it up a notch lately, which is pretty scary for the competition, because he's sitting at a 1.40 in hardpoint this stage. Then it's CleanX, even Geo is here, Simp's here as well, and then Johnny. Sure, Johnny played one series, so bit of a grain of salt with that one. Search and destroy, it's aBeZy. So this is what you'll see with FaZe. They pretty much top all the stat points. I mean, we've got Simp and Cell on the hard points. We've got aBeZy in the search and destroy. Flames are still up here. Dashy, Kiz, and ReeaL. Interesting to see ReeaL. Maybe not interesting, maybe not surprising. He's been very good. And then we have in the control, we don't have a FaZe player, only fourth. We have Cellium at a 1.17. It's Scrappy dominating this with a 1.48. HyDra's here as well. Then Ben Beans and Shotzzy, as I mentioned, rounding out the top 5. So interesting to look at some of those numbers. And Cell's 1.30 KD leads the league for the 3rd consecutive stage, which is the first time ever that a player has done that. Now, if there was one player that was going to do it, it was obviously going to be Cellium. But the fact that he's had the highest KD for 3 stages in a row is kind of insane. And ever since the stages have started back in Cold War, there's been 17 stages. He's led the KD in 7 of those, which is over 40%. So it's kind of remarkable. These are some fun facts, by the way, as we're looking at all those stages going back to the start of Cold War. Cellium and Simp kind of tied one back here, and of course Cellium has had a few more since then. A 1.27 in stage 1, a 1.24 in stage 2, a 1.30 in stage 3. And who's going to bet against him to back this up with another KD such as this during the Major 4 qualifiers? The highest ever is a Zinni one. The most 1+ KD stages is Dashy and Cellium with 17, of course, out of 17. The only other man to go back-to-back here was Pred during Modern Warfare 2. He had a 1.22, 1.26 back-to-back on that CDL Surge team, but, Cellium has now taken that record for himself. Now, yesterday, Scrappy and Sib and the guys on Toronto and New York were absolutely getting into it over that massive referee drama they had. Obviously, the game ends in the game 4 because New York Subliners are lagging, apparently, and they probably were. But, well, Scrappy says they weren't, but whatever. Sib says that they were. The feeling was that the referees were asked by Toronto during game 3 when they were lagging to, hey, end the game maybe, we're lagging, what are we going to do about it? The referee said no, play on. They did win that game 3 eventually in pretty remarkable fashion, but they probably should have lost it. Subliners threw it away, but as Sib says, no, we're definitely teleporting, end of P3, P4. But yeah, you got it, GG's, he says. So, no video evidence of this like OpTic got, for example, and in the same way that when Kenny was lagging the other day against Boston, they obviously had some evidence, but also Boston were tweeting out, well, here's a nice 2-piece that he got when it clearly wasn't lagging, and, this is kind of the point, of course, that James makes here, but as Dante says, was the replay nobody was lagging here, which, okay, sure, they replayed it, and it was a different story, and he says, yeah, I didn't miss, don't know what to tell you. So do you think he missed here? Like, it's online cheese at the end of the day, but, does he miss a couple of shots? I mean, it feels like a couple of them miss, no? Obviously, nice shots here from Scrappy, but, yeah, maybe, I don't know, he probably misses a couple of shots. There's a couple of shots here that seem to just kind of disappear into the ether, and it's not like he's whiffing everything, but, I feel like he probably missed a bullet or two in there. Sib says that he didn't. Whatever, it's online COD at the end of the day, and as Sib says himself, the league said themselves it was lagging. Don't know what to tell you, that's why it took so long. They were trying to find a solution, so maybe the frustration from Scrappy was towards the Subliners guys. The frustration from CleanX was towards the league and the refereeing decisions, because it's maybe not New York's fault what's happened here. It's just, frustrating for many that they turn up, they complain to the refs, they get the replay, whereas when apparently Toronto do the same thing, nothing happens, which is why there was a big debate on this and why the Toronto guys were particularly frustrated. Even Envoy, of course, made the point as well about actually trying to come up with a proper rule set around this stuff, because, as I said yesterday, I like it if the referees have some discretion so they can make a decision. The rules might say one thing, but if it's quite obvious that some sort of online fugazi has happened and one decision is the correct one, they should have some discretion to decide that. But I think there should be better and more well-defined rules for those specific moments when it just seems so unclear what's happening. So anyway, Scrappy says, this online thing, it's so fugazi. Play in Toronto on Thursday, and of course they play Surge round 1, as we saw earlier on today. We do, however, have one man who's not going to be playing the tournament. That is SlasheR, formerly of the Boston Breach. He gave his thoughts in the 1v2 on the breakdown about exactly what's happened lately on the Boston side, his feeling on it, because, perfect timing for him. He leaves the team, gets dropped from the team, they bring in Pentagrxm, of course, they make those changes. Beans comes in as well, and while they showed some promise in the respawn modes, they lost so many search and destroys, and that was the question when SlasheR was there. Wow, SlasheR, great search and destroy player, why is the team bad in that mode? And SlasheR, I think, has been kind of vindicated to say, I wasn't the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was a shit show. Basically, like, just our practice overall, it was pretty poor. We weren't sticking to game plans. We were messing up our own S&D strats. Like, just certain things we're not doing and we're not, like, picking up on in the game. And so, obviously, I found out we didn't really know spawns very well. We just weren't getting wins. I mean, we obviously did start in winner's bracket last split with a harder split than they had this one. So, we were doing okay-ish. But, like, when we went to the events, we just weren't showing up. And so, basically, after the split, I was like, yo, like, we need to make a change. I was like, I think, and we kind of all agreed, the players in a sense, besides obviously Erik, who's the odd man out, that he needed more time in challengers to kind of get his own style, get his own, like, way to play the game, because everyone has their own, like, style. Like Seth, Zen, you guys both have your own styles, like, and you try to cater that into a system, and we were just able to to get him ready, in my opinion. So I was very outspoken. I was like, we need to put him down in challengers. I wanted to get 04 for S&D. I was like, we need to get good at S&D. I was like, that's how we can actually steal some wins here. And yeah, I thought I was on the team, and then last minute, I just wasn't. That's kind of how it went.
So people are seeing both sides of this. They're saying, oh, you know, here goes SlasheR still crying about getting dropped and all this. But I feel like for SlasheR's career, this is probably a wise move because, you know, why not? Boston are trash at the moment. They're 0-7. They're bottom of the league. They ain't getting any better anytime soon, it doesn't seem like. And SlasheR's got the perfect chance to come in and say, look, wasn't my problem that things were going wrong. I wanted to do this. The team wanted to do something else. And I'm not sure I necessarily agree with his opinion on Snoopy. Well, I think I can understand the merits in, because Snoopy was being problematic, like rotations, forgetting search and destroy strats. That at least is what SlasheR was saying. Doug disagrees, whatever. That's the topic that we had a couple of weeks ago. SlasheR's opinion was get rid of Snoopy, put him down to challenges. Snoopy's obviously a talented player. SlasheR knows this. Like, obviously, the guys that have played with him, they know that he's got the talent there. In terms of maximizing their results for this season, I think getting rid of Snoopy and putting him to challenges may have been a good idea. But I still don't know if they'd have been good if they'd have done so. Maximizing results for the longer term, I can see why Boston think, you know what, keeping Snoopy in the league is a wise idea. And I'm not convinced that taking him down to challenges actually helps that much, because the gameplay in challenges is not of the same quality, and can you really learn your trade in challenges so much? I feel like you're more likely to learn your trade quicker in the actual league. So I can understand why Boston made the call that they did. I feel like SlasheR isn't wrong though, that to actually improve this roster for this season, probably putting him down to their academy roster or something would have been the way to go. And actually he says he wanted to sign 04, which is a very interesting observation because 04 was touted around as an option for a couple of teams. He eventually goes to Surge, of course, right, to replace Arcetes on that roster. Since then, they've looked better. Their search and destroy has definitely got better. 04 is known as a good player in that mode. And of course, we know that they beat FaZe in that mode just the other day. So very interesting to hear what he had to say on the matter. Of course, Boston now 5-19, 50 points in the league. But their map count is 39 in 61. They have more map wins this season, Boston, than Los Angeles Gorillas do. Like, let's just, you know, make that very clear. They have 39 map wins, Boston, and Gorillas have 38. Like, the record of Los Angeles Gorillas is actually terrible. 9 in 19, 38 in 67. Boston are 39 in 61. They're very comparable to Surge and other teams that are far above them in the standings. But the problem is they can't win a game 5. And like, they've won lots of maps this season, Boston. They just have absolutely no ice within, and that is a massive problem. It was the same thing when SlasheR was there, to be fair, and people say, well, you know, SlasheR's still crying about this, but I definitely think that it's justified in the circumstances for SlasheR to say his piece, and I still feel like in hindsight, if they were going to decide to keep Snoopy anyway, and SlasheR was forced to get on board with that, because I asked him this question when he was on our show a few weeks ago now, like, if they'd have said, look, like, Austin, we're keeping Snoopy for sure, are you still going to play? He would have still played. But, you know, if they'd have kept him maybe and maybe benched Priestahh or something, him and Beans, I don't know, I think there could have been something in that. But maybe there's an argument as well that Beans and Snoopy is not going to work on the same team because they both have kind of, you know, those traits of making mistakes and like losing their head for some reason in key moments. It's a very strange team, Boston. They've clearly got some talent there, but they need someone to actually get on top of those guys. And if there was someone who was in the perfect position to do so, you'd have thought going into the year it was SlasheR, right? This is what I'm confused about with Boston in some regard, is that if SlasheR can't make it work over there, then what player can make it work over there? I think that's a big question that Boston will have to try and figure out over the next couple of months, right? Because their current setup is not working and their championship ambitions are basically dead in the water. Just to quickly mention from the breakdown as well, their team of the week heading into Major 3, it's some usual suspects here, really, isn't it? Basically all the MVP candidates from the respective top teams. But very much interested to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.